Artlist.io.
And welcome back, friends. A new episode of Boundary with Friends. I think we're gonna take it a little chill for this episode. We have been on a good run. Taking some pause, just working some things out. Just seeing how the directions of this pod, where it would go, and certainly I have ideas. I have certain topics I have in mind, and it may take through this holiday just to get me to solidify how I want to go about doing any of those. But I think the most important thing is if I can get people to provide some feedback or maybe join in on the show as well to talk boundaries, to talk about ways we can build up our own sanity, build up our own um, ways to navigate through relationships, navigate through life, where our demands, there were things demands for our effort, demands from our spirit, demand from our mental health a lot of times. So my name is Dr. Chris Chung. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. Just because I am a therapist doesn't mean that you are allowed to take these episodes as therapy. I think it's amazing if you can find your own therapist and someone who you can trust and definitely feel like they are helping you out. All the purpose of this podcast, of course, we do touch on mental health related things and definitely working on relational pieces, working on things to help us become more capable of setting our own boundary. It's interesting when we talk about boundaries, because even though I work with a lot of mental health, um, students who are mental health professionals, sometimes I still hear the idea of boundaries being talked about as something that we tell others what to do. So let's dispel that for a bit, and then we'll go into what we have for today. So, boundary is not something that we want to use as a weapon or as a way to tell how people should behave, how people should think. Um, Rather, it is a method for letting other people know about ourselves. You have to take some risk into revealing your own thoughts, your own preferences, your own ideas, and sometimes not it's not something that is very popular or even part of consensus, but you need to have uh, value, you need to have an identity, you need to stand up for what you believe is important for yourself and that it needs to happen. For example, right now in my life, being married, we have a discussion regarding children, and so far our boundary is that we are likely not to have human children. We have four wonderful fur children. That if you, this is the first time you're hearing this, yes, this is the first time I'm talking about it. We have adopted. Well, we'll see where it goes, but we have a cat that we're hoping to integrate in the family. Nevertheless, family and society has this typically imposition asking us why we are doing something that's a little bit offbeat. More so now than ever, I think in current generation, it's not rare or uncommon as it was maybe 20, 30 years ago when the expectation was after a marriage that, raising a family, having children is an automatic thing. So for us, that's a boundary that we have decided to take. And there are certainly other elements there, and I definitely am not saying that don't have children yourself. There's nothing that's not better or worse. It's our choice and what fits well for our situation right now. And if you are willing to learn about my situation, right, be curious. Heck yeah, I'll be more than willing to have a discussion about our boundaries, our decisions. Yet, what tend to happen is when a person set a boundary, make a decision, right? Make a life choice or make a decision for their own life. People tend to not come with curiosity, not willing to sit down, listen from a non-judgmental point of view, but rather they come with an attitude, whether it's spoken or unspoken. They're telling you what is wrong with you, why aren't you doing what is supposedly normal? Like I put in air quotation mark normal. Uh, Believe me, there's nothing normal about life. Um, it's harder. if someone were to approach it from that type of energy, from that type of attitude, that I would be willing to share. Um, and so, yeah, that's really an example of how boundaries can be navigated. Um, I've said it to the point where I don't have to feel like I need to explain it to people who come off as um, holier than thou, or very from a judgmental tone. So remember, boundaries is not set for others; it is set for ourselves, and it's set so that we can take control and take accountability for the choices, the words, the behaviors that we set forth. And does it mean that I'm right? No, definitely not. If I'm wrong, I'm willing to investigate, and I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to apologize and change my behaviors. And perhaps that requires a change in boundary, but that doesn't mean that I do it automatically, that I'm here to follow what the crowd says or follow what's supposedly normal, right? So hopefully that gives you another thing to think about when it comes to boundary. Um, Quick update in life overall. Last episode, we would dive into holiday boundaries and how to work with families, right? It is a battleground, definitely, for a lot of uh, boundary setting that is necessary. Um, Unfortunately, right, we don't have the best tools. We don't necessarily have the best way to navigate some of these events, because family set up certain expectations, and when we go against that, it is seen as deviation, or betrayal at the very worst. And at the very uh, innocuous, the very non danger, I would say they would feel a little bit sad about you setting a boundary on the certain holiday events. So go back to listen to that episode. I think it's a fantastic episode when myself and Mario talk about ways we can think about and start having some conversations, making decisions, making concessions, making compromises. All boils down into this thought of boundary making. For today, though, I will say what my show hopes is something that I did in the past, which is to go through the "Am I the Jerk" subreddit and read some of the stories and how we can think about this from a boundary standpoint. And this is purely my opinion. My hope, not so much, is to convince you that I'm right, or that my boundary is the one that you need to follow, but more so taking into some consideration what are some factors to think about. How do we make evaluations? Where does our value show up? And certainly, what I would typically share to a client if they come to me with this scenario, with this situation. Um, Again, my hope is to encourage critical thinking. My hope is to encourage self determination a lot of times, and then make the best decision that is healthy, that is not going to hurt anyone, of course, and being kind to ourselves as well. We're not doing it in video form, I think, but I hope that just me reading will help you start paying attention and listening to some of the stories, and we'll have a dialogue. I mean, foster dialogue. If you do like this show, please recommend this to friends, families, people you think will benefit from boundary development, and also share it on your social media. If there's something that stood out to you, comment, please. I really like to hear from all of you what your thoughts are, what some of the areas that you show the best version of yourself and capable of making boundaries, and some areas that you are maybe you would like to have a conversation about how to become better at it. All right. So let's start with our first story. We're not going to go through too many, but we'll just see how long this show can go for. Am I the jerk for quietly paying strangers groceries after the cashier said to put things back, and my sister says I made everyone look bad? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so the story goes like it's following. I was grabbing pasta sauce and cat litter after work. Small town chain store. Tuesday night, nothing dramatic. The guy ahead of me had maybe 12 items: bread, milk, peanut butter, bananas, a tiny birthday cake with blue frosting. He kept rearranging things on the belt and muttering sorry. The cashier rang it up and it hit $48.23. He swiped the card, declined. He tried another, declined again. The cashier was kind, really, but she said softly, "We can remove some items if you want." He touched the cake and said, "Keep that, it's for my kid." He put back the strawberries, then the milk, and then picked the milk up again like his hand changed its mind. I do okay money wise this month. Overtime was good. So I said to the cashier, "Can you please run it together with mine?" She nodded. He said, "No, sir, you don't have to." I said, "Let me do it. It's okay. Happy birthday to your kid." He cried in a quiet way where it's just breathing weird, not loud at all. The cashier cried too, which made me start leaking. We got a manager because the system needed to combine the orders. I tapped my card, they bagged everything. He thanked me 6 times and I said, "Take care," and I left. Whole thing took maybe about 4 minutes. No selfie, no tag, no nothing. I have social anxiety. It would absolutely combust if I made a scene. 2 hours later, my sister calls. Apparently, the cashier is her friend. Texted her like, "OMG, your brother did a sweet thing." Sister goes into me for 10 minutes about how you made the store look cruel, and the man probably felt small. And if you want to be generous, do it through charity. There is dignity. So there's dignity. I said, "Literally try to be invisible." She said, "Paying in front of him is a performance, even if I didn't mean it. That I should have handed the cashier cash secretly or used one of those pay it forward wall things." I said, "There isn't a wall in the store." Also, I used my card because that's what I had. Next day, the cashier left me a note at customer service, just a sticky, that said the guy came back with his kids to say thanks. The cake was a hit. Kid loved the blue frosting. There's a dinosaur candle. I told my sister and she doubled down. She says, "I embarrassed the man and trained the store to expect customers to fix problems." Now I feel weird about this thing. I felt small and human. For what it's worth, I donate 50 to the local food shelf after because, yeah, system problem too. But in that moment, I saw a cake, a dad, and a blue candle. Am I the jerk for paying there in line instead of trying to do secretly? Wow, this story is kind of interesting. It got the person to really question whole, uh, his whole, you know, actions. It's a kind gesture. Typically, when we read something like this, it feels like a heartwarming story. The sister here is where I'm really, it takes me out of the left field. Again, we don't want to take it as you know, this is normal, that is abnormal. In all sense, for me, it felt quite interesting how the sister reacted, and interesting not in a good way. Um, the first thought that would jump into mind is the sister projecting some sort of insecurity, right? But that's coming off as a very strong and judgmental. I think there needs to definitely be a conversation, but it will probably need to end with, at some point, sounds like to me, where it would end with a agree to disagree between the siblings there. His actions for this person seems to be one of altruism, right? Not really wanting anything back. The it would be called a stretch that he just wanted to get things over with, because you can simply just let the man, do his thing and move to a different cashier or something along those lines. But he really felt bad that the person had to make a choice, and definitely a person with a child, that, man, that would break my heart if, there's, what he was trying to achieve was to make the child happy. um so let's dissect a little bit about what the sister says. The man probably felt small. You made the store look cruel. If you want to be generous, do it through a charity so there is dignity. Perhaps the sister is coming from a place of like, "Oh, this is all for performance," and that, it sets a precedence for people expecting now that someone might do a pay it forward kind of thing. I'm having a hard time coming to that conclusion based on what's described here. So, I mean, easily said, the author of this post is not the jerk. The sister really is one that bears some more investigation, in my opinion, right? Um investigation meaning, like, I want, like, to learn what her thought seems to be how did that thought come about? Um, and it sounds pretty legalistic, honestly. Very, almost corporate like. We don't interact directly with the day to day people. We want to keep things at a distance. We want to, keep it. I don't know if the word's kosher or sterile in that way. Um, but this story seems to me just a kindness of one person to another. And at the end of the day, I don't think the author did anything to make me believe that he's a jerk or that an action that was self-serving, cruel in any form matter. I would, um, maybe, like I said, he'll my my last thought would be, again, he'll have a conversation, sit down, and explain his side, his behavior, his motivation, and leave that be, and come to a point of agree to disagree. If future happenings come about, I hope that this person never change his attitude or his behavior towards being kind to others, and just hope that this is not because the sisters now, words will now be a sticking point for him. But some point it will be agree to disagree, and then really ho- stand his ground. That's the last thing I'll say. Stand his ground. All right, next post. Am I the jerk for refusing to run all the office morale stuff after HR put my name on a sign up sheet without asking? Oh, okay. Yeah, just from the title, you can already hear a boundary violation here. How does one get to be the point person for something be without being asked if they want to, if they're capable, if they have the capacity to do something like that? Let's listen to the story. I was hired as a data analyst last fall, small tech company, hybrid. My plate is full: Q2, quarter two, dashboards, and messy migrations, late night pager once a week. I have zero idea what texts do. Some of these terms are familiar for me. Quarter two, really, this is talking about the time of the year, and a messy migration, likely some, website or design or programming that needs to be moved from one end to another, but not important to the story. Last month, HR rolled out a cultural initiative, basically a spreadsheet of duties like birthday cupcakes, snack restock, welcome baskets, planning surprise parties, taking notes during meetings so managers can be more present. All that soft glue. Is that a saying? All that soft glue? No, no. I didn't sign up. I was in a client call. Next day, I get a ping. Congrats, you are a lead for quarter one morale. Please click pick Chloe. My name was already typed in bold. Apparently, someone said I have good vibes because I bring muffins sometimes. Those muffins are from Costco and were from my team because we shipped a rough sprint, not a personality. I replied, thanks, but no, I was not asked. This is not my job, class. HR wrote back, it is everyone's job to build community. We need women to lead because we listen to better. Wow. um, it gets really tough when HR are themselves a bit sexist in that remark, and who else can you complain to after that? Oh my gosh, talk about chaos, or I don't even have the word for it. That made my skin crawl. I said again, I will join events. I will not plan. My manager said we should be team players, but also admitted my objectives are behind and he needs me on the migration. Meanwhile, people started forwarding me requests. Like a dev asked if I can stock energy drinks with zero sugar, and a director told me to schedule a baby shower at 3 p.m. on sprint review day. I stopped answering, and HR created a group chat called Morale with me as owner. I left the chat. Yesterday, HR pulled me into a video call with a slide deck about how culture work is undervalued, which I agree. But that means you pay people or adjust load, not secretly assign women. I said they want an actual coordinator role post that I will help write the recommended requirements. But I'm not free labor because I smile and print stickers straight. Now I'm getting side eye. Someone said I killed the vibe, which is wild because our vibe lately is three outages and lukewarm pizza. My manager told me to write it up for HR formally, so I did, including a gendered comment. HR is disappointed, quotes, and says they will reevaluate the process, but a few coworkers think I made a drama for nothing. TLDR companies stuck me in an unpaid morale lead without asking with a gendered reason. I declined and documented it. People are salty. Am I the jerk? Hell no. There is so much forced onto this person to do. There is no respect or ask. They have a mission in mind, and for whatever reason, the company went off on a single person's comment and decided that's the role for the person. There's no invitation. There is no, support as far as I know. And suddenly, a task was assigned to a person who's not. It's not even their job responsibility. Are they jargon? Absolutely not. And in this case, I'm already like crafting my exit plan, and maybe it's hard. I mean, today's world, it's definitely super hard to really find a job. Not going to diminish any of that. This situation is going to become a toxic work environment. If you ever heard of that term, it just becomes one where people are being uncollegial due to frivolous reasons. Um, a company that wants to build a cohesive, harmonious work environment, and this is a point of where, like, for some of you, it may be more helpful if there's structure, if there's leadership in this. For me, it's like everyone pitches in. It's not assigned to one person, and uh, it's almost another part-time job if you think about it, needing to restock, needing to answer people's requests, needing to uh, schedule plan for parties and supplies, all the while they still have their job that they need to fulfill. And you know culture work, it just seems like HR, and I don't know much about this HR person. What it screams to me is that HR is following a manualized or very cookie cutter way of creating or fostering cohesion at work. And it's done in a very business like way. Again, the word corporate comes to mind, and it's very yucky feeling, type of yucky feeling that it's like, do they even see people as people? Or do they just see them as assets, see them as, you know, uh, participants, um, just their skill set, just their capabilities, but not really who these people are individually, and the things that they're doing. So that's crazy to hear. Crazy to hear. So original poster, I don't see where you're in the fault in this, but I will say that this is a systemic issue that you'll find yourself trapped in more than whatnot. Um, believe in your own work, believe in your own capability, and start looking elsewhere. And make sure to include that in your interview process when they ask you why you left your previous job. Just so you can be clear, because this is bizarre. I never had to enter a workplace and be forced a role of doing additional things that is not work related. It is supposedly phrased in a way that's work related, but not really. All right, next one. Oh, this one's gonna be spicy. Am I the jerk for not giving my ex her dog back after 8 years? My ex left me and our dog 8 years ago. She said she couldn't handle him and moved away. I kept the dog for a while until my sister took him, and when I had to move somewhere that didn't allow pets. He's been with her ever since. Totally loved and spoiled, basically part of her family now. Out of nowhere, she shows up at my sister's barbecue last week, goes crazy when she sees the dog. Starts crying, said I stole her son and that I kept him apart all these years. She tried calling him by his old name and he didn't even react. He just stayed next to my niece wagging his tail. Now she's messaging everyone about her stolen ESA and threatening to get police involved. It's been 8 years. She never paid for food or vet visits, never asked about him once. Microchip is in my sister's name and vet files too. I told her to adopt a new dog if she suddenly wants to play pet mom again. Some people in my family say I should just let her see him once to calm her down. Others block her and move on. I think she's lost it. How is this even a split decision among the family? And I'll tell you kind of what my thought is. I know that straight off the bat, my gut was to be very judgmental. The logic follows, right? 8 years. How can someone still claim ownership or make these accusations when you've disappeared? Now, I will say the only bad thing that the poster did was probably um, dating this person. Uh, just there's got to be a lot more behind the scenes that we don't know about the person. But we'll just go with the story. I mean, at the very least, I can tell that families are saying not siding with this ex to say, oh, give the dog back, because that makes absolutely no sense. So we still have some semblance of logic. Now, for those, I'm taking a side. I honestly am. In counseling, I'll probably try to reason a little bit more, or try to have a bit of a more of a discussion, I would guess. But certainly, I think it's very clear that this person gave up all her rights for the dog. 8 years is a long time for a dog. You know that we do like dog math. We're talking about 8 times 7. That's what, 56 years. Not seeing your child, and then you want to claim the child back. It's just crazy to me to hear that. For the family that says should just let her see him once to calm her down, this is not a solution. In fact, it's um, asking the sister and asking the original poster to set aside their boundary and just to just to calm her down. It's a convenience thing. They're not comfortable with seeing someone else being throwing a tantrum, basically, or trying to you know go about doing things that are childish and mature. Honestly, trying to get police involved, threats. They're trying to give in to threats because the belief is if they give in, then they don't have to experience this discomfort. Discomfort is not a bad thing, really. If we learn to regulate and manage our emotions, we can, tolerate a lot of distress. So that's my only view of trying to understand the family who says, "Oh, let her see him once to calm her down." It's not so much for the greater good. It is not so much to uphold, uh, you know, good boundaries or values. It is convenience, right? Now, the others say blog and move on. As understandably as that is, I would say that that's also a reaction that's quick to find a solution to, right? We're uncomfortable, we don't want to deal with this, so just block and move on, right? It will be wonderful if that, just taking that step and you are free of headache. I don't think so with a person that can react and respond and have that kind of logic. I think you'll have to deal with it in some form of ways. There, you can try to block, and you have all the rights. You have all the things to support your stance. And at the same time, I don't know if it's moving on can happen just like at a snap of a finger. So just be prepared that this will be an ongoing thing. But at the end of the day, I think there is nothing that the person that posts this on Reddit did wrong, other than making poor life part a lot of poor romantic partner choices. All right, last one. Am I the jerk for refusing to help my coworker learn Excel after she mocked me for being a spreadsheet nerd? gosh, this is workplace bullying. I want you to hear this. This is hostile work environment if people are using names that are leaning in a mocking manner, right? And so, oh gosh, your boundary is already uh, crossed at that point, right? And then they expect you to be collegial. That is crazy how people can fathom that that is an okay thing to do. Okay, story. I'm known at work for being good with data. I even made a shared spreadsheet template that saves everyone time. A coworker once joked in front of others that I'm probably single because I love formulas more than people. Dude, again, if you have nothing good to say, keep your mouth shut. I don't understand the need to put someone down, particularly when it's not even someone that is remotely connected to you. Um, why not place our energy into raising each other up, or helping each other become better, so that we can have better work vibe, work environments. Last week, she messaged me asking if I could teach her Excel because her report was due and she didn't know where to start. How are you still in a job? How what? Yeah, Excel is complicated. I'll give you that. But if it's part of your work, shouldn't that be some part of your learning? Now she's coming close to a deadline, and she now needs someone. She is likely not asking for help to teach, more so to do her work for her. I'm assuming. Right. I said, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Maybe try YouTube tutorials. She called me petty and said I should be the bigger person. Am I the jerk? Okay. It sounds like you're not even sure of yourself. You're questioning your boundaries because my guess is you don't know where where to what value to place on yourself, your self-worth, honestly. I'm not saying this in a derogatory way. Honestly, I just sense that you are not very confident in your own rights, not very confident in your own boundary. This is what leads to questioning. Um, Petty. I mean, sure. It's not like the other worker. You know, your so-called coworker was exactly ingratiating themselves to you, right? Or being a teamwork. There's no history there other than that they would put you down. Um, what could you have done? Like I probably wouldn't bring up that aspect as the reason, but you're definitely within your right to say, I'm busy, I have my own work to complete, and that would take time. Uh, I don't know. Maybe the comment, maybe try YouTube tutorial, was a bit of a pettiness, but I don't know. I don't know where your coworker believes that they have the rights to your time, to your value, and yeah, if your coworker is going to complain, it's only going to make them look bad, right? To not be able to do the work that they are supposed to be able to do because they're working, right? Uh, but the OG poster, or original poster, the OP, don't doubt yourself. You are valued. You are a valued member, even if nobody else has told you that. Your time, your effort, you don't owe anyone anything. You are allowed to show uh, favors or give favors to who you choose to give favors to, and this in fact is asking for a favor, which again, I don't know where this coworker think that they have the rights to your time and your energy. So, folks, I hope you enjoy this short show to talk about how people typically aren't sure whether they're the jerk or not, and they needed a second opinion, needed crowdsourcing for that knowledge. My hope, though, is through this podcast is that we can build ourselves to the point where we can, be certain of our own values and of our own uh, boundaries, and that if we do reach out, that we just are able to be fair and talk through our thoughts. Today's stories, it seems very clear cut to me. I'm sure there are other stories where it's a little bit more gray, and certainly we're only hearing from one side, right? But at the same time, when I read these stories, it makes me wonder where it's a miss for individuals, for some individuals, not all, for some individuals to not have developed their own voice, their own self determination, their own values, and at what point do have they not learned to articulate their own capabilities, capacities, and ultimately their boundaries? So I'll leave you off with just that question. Think about it. Who were the people in your life that really demonstrated, showcased, and encourage boundary setting in a healthy way? And who might those be who constantly break you down, or push against your boundaries, or even to a point of crossing the boundary? So yeah, let's have a thought about that. I don't think I have a book recommendation this week, but I certainly will say that you keep journaling, maybe thinking through, or maybe having this conversation. I challenge you to really leave a comment about your thoughts and answer to that question. Who are the people that modeled, encourage, and help you develop your boundary, and who are the people who has tried to demolish, take away, or weaken your boundaries? So until next time, folks, continue to be friends with boundaries.
Music licensing reimagined.